Hey guys, it's Vince. Today in this video we're going to be discussing ways to optimize stability on your PC, because many times I'm receiving message after message of guys claiming that they think they have EMI issues when in turn they actually have PC issues. So I've done previous videos, many of you already know. I did one on CPU priority about 2 weeks ago. And then I've also done videos in the past on, optimized systems used for CNC as far as hardware spec related. In this video, I'm going to cover direct from Warp 9, and for those of you not familiar with Warp 9, they manufacture the ESS. They have a topic in their FAQ section named Tips for Windows Operating Systems. Now, if you go through this list with me, and I'm going to just peruse it with you right now in this video, you're going to find answers to a lot of questions seldom discussed on any forum, regardless of it being Mach3, Vectric software, CAM software of all kinds. Most of these are overlooked, and I don't know why they're overlooked. I don't know why so many people, won't take the time to go through all the details required to be understood as far as getting involved with this genre of robotics, but it's a must. And what I wanted to do is just go over it with you guys to give you a better feel of what I've said in previous videos and tie it all together, because a lot of times guys don't believe what I'm saying until they experience an issue, and then all of a sudden it becomes reality. So rather than do all that, if I could save you the pain, we'll do that right now. So what we've got here is some topics. Which version of Windows will a smooth stepper run on? And once again, they manufacture the smooth stepper, so they base everything around the smooth stepper. However, there are a lot of topics in these articles that are based just around CNC use, and I cannot say that enough. If you do not have the horsepower, meaning for the PC, to be the neurological center of your CNC system, you will have stability issues. Okay, if the machine randomly stops cutting, it's not always a direct determination from EMI. It could very well be the PC being used. And unfortunately, like I've stated earlier, a lot of PCs being used today for CNC use are from the 80s and early 90s. And that's just simply ridiculous when you're running a $5,000 to $6,000, $7,000, some people $10,000, $15,000 robot. It just doesn't make sense to me, but it happens a lot. So either way, you're going to see smooth stepper come up a lot, and now you know why it's coming up a lot. However, again, these topics are redundant in the fact that they do pertain to CNC systems all over, whether it's parallel port, UC100, whatever the device may be. These topics pertain to it, so we'll check them out. 32-bit or 64-bit Windows is another topic. Windows 10. Older versions of Windows. Andy's PC and my suggestions. Really interesting topics. We'll go over that. Making Windows more friendly with Classic Shell, running Mach3 at higher priority level. I've done a video on that. I will link that as well, so you guys will have this all in one place to make sure that running at a higher priority level will be saved. A lot of times when you do that inside of Windows, you do not get that saved the next time you open the program, and that makes it all but useless unless you want to manually do this all the time, which doesn't make sense. Disabling unused network protocols, disabling Ethernet adapter power management. Now these two are only really going to be based around the ESS. If you're using the ESS, again, very smart to do to set up your system for the optimized use with the ESS. Overall, most clients don't need to do that with their systems typically, but again, these are protocols that I recommend if you're experiencing any type of stability, or if you're just starting out and you just want to make sure you cover all bases. You can't go wrong like this. You can always reactivate them later on. Adjusting virtual memory and other improvements. This is a powerful one. We're going to cover that. Optimizing your PC. Weird Windows issues. So as we scroll down here, which versions of Windows will the smooth stepper run on? Many of you guys already know the answer to this. Again, they're basing it because they're the manufacturer of the ESS, Windows 10, 8, 7, Vista, and XP. 32-bit or 64-bit Windows. You may use either 32-bit or 64-bit Windows with a smooth stepper. 64-bit Windows allows your computer to use more than 4 gigs of RAM. And the ESS Ethernet smooth stepper and USS, they have a USB smooth stepper as well, will run 32-bit and 64-bit Windows. The only disadvantage 64-bit Windows is that Mach cannot control a parallel port. But Mach can control our smooth stepper, so you won't need a parallel port, of course. Again, you can see here the main disadvantage. They're going into the RAM of the system. That's random access memory. That dictates a lot of how your PC stores and runs and functions programs. Guys, I'm telling you right now, you do not want to use the minimal RAM to run any type of software, and this reiterates that point. The main disadvantage of 32-bit Windows is that you can have a maximum of 4 gigs of RAM, minus some stolen by video resources and other areas of the operating system. Now, once again, I've said this in previous videos, back with Windows XP, you could run Mach 3 with 2 gigs to 4 gigs of RAM quite acceptably. However, with Windows 7 or newer, we recommend 6 gigs and prefer 8 gigs of RAM or more to give you a better user experience. And that's a lot being said. That right there dictates everything I've said in a nutshell, and this is coming direct from them, who is the manufacturer. There's a lot of BS online, and if you don't separate that BS, you guys are going to find a deeper hole in your pocket than just doing it right the first time. Memory counts. I hear too many times that guys are saying, hey, I'm getting away with what I have in my system, it's working. Okay, just be aware that if it stops working, don't chase the rabbit down the hole, so to speak, into thinking, oh, I've got ghosts in my machine and it's EMI. If you don't master the fact that the neurological center of your system is the PC, you're going to have problems, and this sums it up right here. Archaic systems that are running 2 gigs, I see guys running 512 meg of RAM, and they think, oh, well, Mach 3 is fine. Just so you know, you see it right here direct from the manufacturer. Later versions of Windows become more labor intensive on the hardware, and therefore more memory is required. Windows 64-bit will support the following maximum amounts of RAM, which is typically much more RAM than your motherboard will allow. And again, you've got everything broken down here. And this is a great question. How much RAM do I need? Depends on which version of Windows you are using, and if you're in Mach 3 or Mach 4. Mach 4 does require more RAM and CPU power than Mach 3. No matter what, I strongly recommend that you adjust your virtual memory, and again, we'll go down to that level and you can read about that. With Windows 7, I do recommend 8 gig of RAM for a no-worries experience. Once again, the manufacturer is stating, with Windows 7, I do recommend 8 gig of RAM for a no-worries experience. And again, that's based on ESS, which is pretty amazing because the ESS really takes a lot of the workload off the CPU of the system. But CNC is labor intensive, and on top of that, when you take that labor intensiveness and then amplify it with the fact that we're running, a newer operating system on old hardware, it makes it even more stressed. It just doesn't make sense. Be on the safe side. 8 gig is set. I recommend personally for any cam system, and if you're doing cam work at all, many of you guys understand it, 16 gigs is really optimal. 6 gig usually works here, but you want to make sure your other programs are closed. There are some people that do manage to run on 4 gig, but they have almost everything else turned off in Windows 7. For an individual who knows what they're doing, go for it. And once again, they're just giving you that. With Windows 10, there are some people who run fine with 4 gigs. The user experience is better than 8 gigs of RAM. If you're running Windows 10 with 4 gigs, you're not doing a hell of a lot with your computer. Many of you know that. So again, we go from there. Windows 10. When the 64-bit version of Windows 10 is updated, Bill, it will no longer allow Mach 3 to use its DHL, which causes Mach 3 not to load, and it gives you the solutions here. Once again, I'm just perusing over the areas that really are driven more around the ESS. I want to stay more with what is driven more around open use for CNC. And once again, you can see here it goes through isolating both the USB smooth stepper and how to get everything nice and smooth as far as turning off Windows updates for Windows 10 and so on and so forth. Older versions of Windows. Windows 8 is available in 2 versions, and again, comparison of editions. Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Andy's PC and suggestions. My current rig image is below, and he's telling you my thoughts are for a decent system. Now, apparently Andy is someone that's worked with Warp 9 and is giving you an outlook on what he recommends. He's running 64-bit Windows 7 or 10, 8 gigs of RAM, 4 gig minimum is possible, and we've already seen that. i5 or i7, which I've already discussed, that's an Intel processor, multi-core. 7200 RPM mechanical hard drive, and preferably an SSD drive or solid-state drive. I would upgrade components in this order. Make sure you're running at least 8 gigs of RAM. Once again, always at the top of the list. Get a solid-state hard drive instead of mechanical. This will shorten application loading times more than anything else. Also, the spin-up time on a mechanical hard drive can make your computer stall for 5 seconds. It might make Mach lose connection with the ESS. Well, guess what, guys? If it's doing it with the ESS, it can definitely do that with other controllers like the UC100. All of these, once again, these little variables are applicable to any system. I'm not a big fan anymore of the standard mechanical hard drives just due to the fact of their reliability. Solid state is much more reliable. There's no moving parts. The prices on these components are dirt cheap. I think you can buy a 128 gig solid state drive for maybe 30 bucks. I mean, we need to really look at this stuff, and once again, don't be penny wise and dollar foolish, so to speak. 16 gigs of RAM would be awesome. You want at least 8 gig minimum. Once again, with 16 gig, programs will almost never run out of RAM unless you're running tons of stuff in the background. Most of you never do that. Jump up to a quad-core i7 III. This will give you 8 threads of processing power. Once again, multi-core CPU i7 is definitely the way to go. Pricing those systems, even if you're buying a third-generation Intel system, you're probably looking, $300 to $500 depending upon what RAM it comes with. Well worth the investment. Making Windows more friendly with Classic Shell. Now, I myself use Classic Shell. Many of you guys may not know that. I know Windows 10 basically makes everything look like a giant cell phone. I'm not a big fan of that. I like the old traditional look of Windows, similar to Windows 7. If you install Classic Shell, it's a free program. It basically gives you all of the features of the virtuality, I should say, and viewing ability of Windows 7 and earlier versions of Windows. So again, it turns your computer back into what looks more like a computer rather than a cell phone. This just tells you where you can download it if you want to check it out. Once again, free program. I highly recommend it if you don't like the way Windows 10 operates in terms of all the big icons and all that Fisher-Price look, so to speak. Running Mach 3 at a higher priority level. Now, I've already done a video, like I said, a couple weeks ago on this. The way to do it that I actually cover makes it so that when you set Mach 3 at the highest priority level, you never have to go back and do it again because you're using Explorer software, once again free software, to allow you to set your system up. I highly recommend anyone using their system for CNC use to do this. This is just imperative and it's common sense, especially if you're using it for a business. And I hope my guys out there that are looking at starting a business or running a business, they go through this video, because I'm telling you right now, all of these features could be adjusted and optimized regardless of what computer you're using. Disabling unused network protocols. Once again, this is all based more or less around the ESS because it's utilizing Ethernet control. You wouldn't do this naturally on a USB motion controller like a UC100. It does have similar features as far as disabling power and usage and so on and so forth, but this is driven around the Ethernet protocols. Now, if you guys are using an ESS, feel free to go through this. Again, it's a step-by-step. Show you how to do it. And you can come over here and allow the computer to turn off the power saving. Okay, this is probably one of the most powerful features covered in this article, adjusting virtual memory and other improvements. You get a lot of questions on this. Regardless of how much physical memory RAM your computer has, Windows will allow use virtual memory, which is just empty space in your hard drive. Normally, Windows allocates a small amount of space in your drive and grows it over time as the operating system needs to transfer more and more program information there from the physical memory. Expanding and contracting the size of virtual memory takes time and can cause communication errors between Mach and the smooth stepper, along with random slowness or non-responsiveness. To solve this, we will modify the initial and maximum amount of virtual memory available so they are the same and much larger than the Windows normally provides. The procedure is for Windows 7, but the other versions of Windows will be very similar. Now, guys, you can do this, again, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. XP, I don't believe, will allow it so easily. But this is very, very powerful. It will allocate how much memory, just in a short explanation, how much memory is allocated to be used for a certain program. Okay, step by step. For my guys using Windows 7, this will be screenshot for screenshot. For guys using Windows 8 through 10, you may want to just do a Google search on how to do it. But overall, it's very, very similar. I mean, it's not a big process to do. Again, you can see here, adjust for best performance. This is visual effects, and that's talking about, how Windows actually does different screen mods as far as you going into different windows. Coming over here, adjust for best performance of programs, and then we come down here and you can see virtual memory, and he's adjusting it. Initial and maximum should be the same. Now click on change and select custom size. I use 29,000 on one drive and 5,000 on my second drive. You will typically have just a single drive to choose from. For drives where you don't have much space left, I would recommend 12,000 megs. If you have plenty of space on the drive, on a hard drive or solid state, I would recommend 20,000 megs or 32,000 megs. And you can see right here where he's putting them in. And again, real simple, shot-by-shot example of where you can go through and do this. And you can see uncheck all, how he's doing everything. Super powerful stuff here. And once again, a lot of guys don't even realize that they can go into their control panel under power options and select how the PC behaves. A lot of guys will realize that their system is set stock, on balance recommended, which is balance performance. And they have another setting called high performance, and that basically runs all of your memory and your CPU at the highest levels. I highly recommend that. I mean, again, we're using this for CNC use. Even if you're not using it for CNC use and just enjoying your computer for multimedia use, this is optimal. Okay, it's an optimal setting to definitely manipulate. Coming over here, you can see he's setting it up so he never turns off his display. Puts the computer to sleep. Once again, screenshot by screenshot. If you're using Windows 10, it's virtually the same thing. You'll go in, you could do a search on this in your control panel, and most of these features will pop up. If you're uncertain, you can always Google search it, but once again, with the screenshots, it makes it really set. Here's step 10. Now set shown in the following picture. You will need to scroll up and down or use the arrow keys to move up and down through the list, and you can see here advanced settings. High performance active, and then you see he's turning off turn off hard disk setting never. This way there's never a stall in communication. Sleep after setting never. You can see he's hibernating never. He wants to make sure that the PC is on at all times and all features are functioning at all times. USB selective suspend setting. Now for my guys out there using a UC100 or a USB Ethernet smooth stepper, or excuse me, a USB smooth stepper, this is a setting that you would want disabled, because again, if you have a suspend feature enabled, it can lose communication. So once again, it gives you that false positive of potentially having EMI issues when you're not. So these settings, like I said, going through this video will save you a lot of time and will maximize the performance of your PC so that neurologically she can handle everything you're throwing at her for CNC control. Link state power management off. Minimum processor state setting 100%, so he's setting everything up to be fully active. CPU be running 100% at all times as far as being available. System cooling policy setting active. Maximum processor state setting 100%. So he wants that processor to be able to be throttled on to 100% whenever required. Turn off display setting never. I see a lot of guys with that display setting set to basically be on standby mode. Never ever do that, because there is the possibility for lost communication. Now, once again, very, very powerful checklist. Optimizing your PC. If you are having issues when you are losing communications with your smooth stepper, once again, that's their model. This works with everything. Regardless of smooth stepper, figure this with UC100, anything that pertains to your system. Parallel port, same principle. They're stating smooth stepper. Your PC may be causing the issue. These steps have resolved slow, overburdened PC issues for many smooth stepper users and have helped to prevent the creation of scrap. So what they're basically saying when they say prevention of scrap, where you guys lose connection and you've just basically ruined a piece of substrate. So you can see the list here. I mean, look at this extensive list. I've never seen this list discussed on any forum. I hear a lot of guys discuss it on the forum, asking questions and topic about it, but I've never seen it discussed, and that's why this video really makes sense, because I've discussed it, but what I always typically find is that when it comes up, the questions keep coming up, and for some reason I get the same kind of rhetorical response where guys say, hey, you know what, this guy says this on the forum, I've been told this shouldn't matter, memory shouldn't matter, and by you seeing validation from a manufacturer that, once again, is pretty much world-renowned in CNC operation with Mach3 like Warp 9, it confirms what I'm saying. So I think you guys should definitely look into this. Here are some actions you should take, and you can see here, run your PC. Now they say use CC Cleaner. It's another piece of software. It's free. CC Cleaner is really cool. It lets you go in and clean up your system. I like Rebel One Installer. I've done a video on this. It's free too for 30 days. It's unbiasedly free, meaning nothing is limited. I'm telling you now, if you use this software and you need to remove a program, it will go in and clean out anything as if it was never installed in your PC. A lot of guys don't understand that when you use add remove programs in Windows, it's not actually removing the software as if it was never installed. It leaves bits and pieces of registry entries and certain files, and sometimes that over time can get cluttered and you basically are left SOL when you're trying to reinstall software. It may pick up those files. You want to always remove programs as if it was never installed in your system. CC Cleaner will work. Check out Rebel One Installer. I'll put a link in that in the actual video description for that as well. You can definitely check it out. It's free. For at least 30 days, you'll have your system set for that. Defrag your mechanical hard drive. Your hard drive is almost full. Adding another hard drive naturally. Going into the power options, you can see here as he goes all the way through. For Windows XP, and I get a lot of guys about this question, for Windows XP, if you have 2 gigs of RAM or less, it would help significantly to get that up to 2 or 3 gigs of RAM. Windows XP 30-bit, 32-bit, you can't use more than about 3.5 gigs of RAM, no matter how much you've installed. For Windows 7 and newer, if you have 4 gigs of RAM or less, it would probably be significant or help significantly to get that up to 6 to 8 gigs. Well, we've discussed that already, but XP comes up all the time. I get questions on it. If you guys are running XP, I'm telling you now, you're running an outdated operating system, and 98% of the time, when you run into fallacies, especially with drivers, you're going to have trouble getting that system stable. So a lot of times guys will wait and say, no, I'm not going to do that. They go to cut. They were successful for a couple years. The computer craps out on them. They have a huge job on the table, and guess what? They're creating scrap. So telling you now, be very careful with this. You're playing with fire. Adjust your virtual memory for better performance. And once again, disable Wi-Fi while running Mach. Do you have a second Ethernet adapter? Once again, they're basing this all around the ESS, but the principles are the same, and I cannot emphasize that if you take the steps just right here based on what is listed, go through everything, clean the system up, set the settings, you guys will have a PC that's optimized for CNC use. And learning this area and this realm of CNC operation, especially for personalized CNC use, it will make your robot perform that much better in terms of not only stability but performance and speed. We take the burden off the processor and the memory of the CPU and whatnot as we go through the computer settings, and everything becomes more symmetrical, and you'll find that everything runs at a much smoother rate. I can't tell you that enough, how many guys have gone in and made adjustments just in the priority level. I've gotten so many emails now saying what a big difference it's made, whether it's been stability issues. I had one guy tell me that, it completely cured any EMI issues he thought he had, and it's just because these are topics not normally discussed. Everyone thinks that if you just connect the PC, you're good to go. It doesn't work that way. Everything with CNC, and I've discussed this before, has to work in harmony. You have to master so many variables in order to have a stable system. You've got your computer, you've got the system itself, you got to understand all of the hardware and all of the software that runs the system. There are a multitude of variables inside those four. And when you think about that, that's what makes this such a huge genre to learn. It takes time. So don't be in a rush. Go through this video. I suggest watching it again, or better yet, many of you are smart enough now to go through and actually take notes as I'm discussing these things, and you can go through, watch the video again if you have to, or go from your notes and sit in front of the computer and do all these settings, and I guarantee it'll make a difference. You guys, most of the time with virtual memory, you'll see that right away. So again, I hope the video has been helpful. I know many guys are going to still have questions. That's fine. Message me direct at storm2313@gmail.com. That'll be on the actual screen. You'll see it on the bottom of the screen. That's my direct email. And of course, you can always message me on my eBay store, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible. So thank you all for your support. Take care.